Hey guys, so I'm doing a series of videos tonight, and I'll space out publishing them, mainly like for insurance purposes, I guess. You know, if something happens to me, you know, my sisters will have a little bit of the background of all of my cues, and maybe they'll be able to get a value for them or whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. I just don't want them throwing. Don't want anybody just throw them all in the trash. So I've already done McDermott and Mucci, and this is going to be Predator. I have 3 Predators. This one is the first one I ever bought. I don't remember the model number or whatever of it. I actually said in my my Mucci video that I have since decided that the larger and more obnoxious the logo is, the less of a quality product it is in most cases. And I kind of feel that way about this cue. This cue I saw at Super Billiards Expo around the turn of the century. It's the only time I ever went to Super Billiards Expo. And I saw this cue, and I'm like, I must have this cue. This is the most beautiful cue I've ever seen. And at the time, that was probably the case. Probably the most beautiful cue I've ever seen back then. Now I'm not as big a fan of rounded points anymore. This whole forearm treatment, I think, might just be a little bit too busy for my taste these days. If they got rid of these extra lines in the middle, maybe I would like. Well, I know I would like it better. This back here I like a lot though. This came with a nylon or linen wrap, and at one point I had it switched over to the boar's hide. I liked the boar's hide leather a lot. For a long time, it was my favorite wrap. Now it's a Spanish ball, but this is still really pretty. And I did a video about my previous cues. Had several cues on my table, and this was one of them. And still is. This is the original shaft. It's just a pre-cat 314, and it's got a longer ferrule than my other 314 shafts, because it's the way they made them back then. One of the things about this cue though is when I got it, I was like, this is going to be my new main cue. I spent at the time probably more money on this than I'd spent on any other cue. In fact, that's almost certain. Just didn't play very well with it. This cue does not have a particularly good hit. I've since learned. Back then, I wasn't thinking about hit. I was thinking, I just don't play very well with it. But I don't play very well with it because it has an inconsistent hit. To me, my style and all that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it's pretty, and it's over 20 years old now. And so, don't throw it in the trash if something happens to me. Find a buyer. Somebody will appreciate it. In about 2004, I flew to Omaha to see my old friends, and I didn't take a cue. I bought one while I was there. And this is the one that I bought. This is a Predator. This is a Sneaky Pete. This right here isn't even a black joint. This is a regular joint, and I put electrical tape over it to make. I didn't want somebody to walk off with the cue thinking it was a house cue, because it looks a lot like a house cue. For the longest time, and I don't know why, this has got the 314 with the cat on it. This is my best banking cue. What happened was I went to Omaha, visited my friends, played whatever. And when I flew back home, I gave this cue to my buddy. He said, "Can you store this for me? I'll come back and get it." I thought it would be back, within a year or whatever, and didn't get the cue. And he stuck it in a closet. And like 8 years later, I asked him, "Hey, can you mail that to me?" And he did. And I picked it up, and by then I was really heavily into banking balls and was pretty decent at banking balls. But this was better. I was better at banking balls with this. And this was my main cue for probably about a year. I would take it to work because I could leave it in my car or my truck, and then go to the pool hall afterwards. And we play 1-5, we play bank pool, whatever. And while this cue right now It's a little bit butt heavy for me. It would take some getting used to for me. I have no doubt that I could get used to it very quickly once again if I needed to. I don't need to. I do play with this fairly often, just down here in my basement though. I don't remember the time, but I want to say it was probably about 2017. I've been playing with Sean cues as my main, for the most part, for almost 30 years at that point. And I kind of said, you know what, I'm ready for a change. And I just went online and looked at some cues. I remember there was a set of Mosconi Predator cues. This is one of them. I don't remember which model it is. I never remember model numbers. I probably should. And I liked all of those cues that I remember. This is not the one I was looking for. The one I was looking for was a different model number, but they were out of those. But this one, I was like, yeah, this looks great. Because I had to send it to Richard Filippi to get the boar's hide wrap on it, because it came with some linen wrap, and by this time I was definitely not doing any more linen wraps or whatever. And I anxiously waited this cue, thinking this is going to be my new main cue. Got it? Doesn't hit very well. So that's 2 out of 3 of the Predator cues that I've had that, for me, have not hit very well. Now, I did take off the 314 shaft, and this is the Jacoby Ultra shaft. Made it better, but not great. Just made it better. And maybe I should have given it a little more time to get used to it. But what happened was, and you all aren't going to be able to see this, because I can hardly ever see it, but when I need to, I do. So underneath my finger, I'm going to try to turn this. Can you see underneath my finger? Yeah, I can't see it in the screen. The stupid finish got like scratched up just from hanging around my wall. That's pretty darn cheap shit to me. And it made me mad. Like, whatever I spent on this, I think I probably spent $1,500 or whatever on this. And then for it to get all marred up, the finish to get all marred up that easily, no, it was stupid. This was the start of my, I don't know, I was really starting to question Predators and really starting to even question low squirt stuff in general. Because I'd had such a bad experience with this cue. I'd had such high hopes for it. And they just didn't pan out. So I went back to my Sean. Now my Sean did have a Jacoby shaft on it at the time. I just went back to that because it was what I have, not because that's going to be my cue for the rest of my life. But I was really starting to wonder if it was going to be the cue for the rest of my life, because nothing else was going to be any good. But this was a pretty big disappointment for me. It's still really, really pretty though. And this was on a video I made about my prettiest cues. This is absolutely one of them. As long as you don't look at the part where the finish is marred off, it's really great. And those are the only 3 Predators that I own. I have a bunch of Predator shafts that I've used on my various Sean cues over the years. I liked the Predator shafts for quite a while. And then it seemed like I had a couple that had a kind of a dead hit. And somebody recommended to me, hey, here's a Jacoby makes a low squirt shaft. Try that. And that's what I did. But this video was about Predators, and that was it.